Good, happy Thursday evening, January 23rd, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday evening, so let's begin. First up, Democrats focus day 2 of trial on Trump's dangerous abuse. Let's take a listen to that video from WHDH 7 News. Dan Housley.
The impeachment trial of President Donald Trump continues with more opening arguments from the House managers, the Democratic leaders making their case that the president's conduct was illegal. Dan Housley live in Washington, D.C. with more on what's happening today.
Well, Ryan, Congressman Adam Schiff back in the Senate, leading the charge again this morning. Today we did hear from both Massachusetts senators sitting in judgment there as the House managers continue to try to press their case, though both Democrats and Republicans seem to agree. So far, it doesn't look like many minds are changing.
The president's conduct is wrong. It is illegal. It is dangerous.
House Democrats continued their argument to remove President Trump from office by focusing on the charge of abuse of power.
President Trump abused his power when he used his office to solicit and pressure Ukraine to meddle in our elections for his personal gain.
While Democrats call the House managers' arguments persuasive, Republicans warn Americans have only heard part of the story.
There is an old proverb that says the first one always seems right until they're cross-examined. And so I'm waiting to be able to hear the White House response in the coming days, and they'll have the opportunity to tell their side of the story.
Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey tells me the arguments so far are really aimed at reaching just a handful of moderate Republicans whose votes Democrats need to allow new witnesses and evidence. Do you see anything that tells you that any of these moderates are cracking?
My hope is that perhaps one or two or three or ultimately four of them will change their minds, and they will give us the witnesses and the documents, but ultimately I'm not very optimistic.
On witnesses, President Trump tweeted this morning they had their chance, but pretended to rush most unfair and corrupt hearing in congressional history. Some Republicans are arguing those Democratic senators running for president shouldn't be sitting in judgment of a man they hope to replace.
They're actually going to be voting to remove from the ballot the name of Donald Trump. Not just remove him from office, but remove him from the ballot in 2020. So I believe they have a conflict of interest in their decision.
One of those candidates, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, fired back.
Based on what I've seen in this impeachment trial so far, it's pretty clear that there are some Republicans who are challenged on the concept of conflict of interest.
And we're about halfway through the Democrats' argument here, and while some of the senators have reportedly been seen nodding off here, Senator Markey tells me they ought to be given a little slack. He says about 10% of them, he thinks, are suffering from the flu, making it even harder to endure these long sessions. We're live on Capitol Hill. Dan Housley, 7 News.
And stay with the news station for continuing coverage of the impeachment trial. We'll be watching the arguments all afternoon and bring you on the updates from the Senate floor. And 7's Dan Housley will continue his live reports from Washington, D.C. throughout the night, right here on 7 News.
Okay, there you go. And it is still going on, that impeachment trial, as we are doing our broadcast. If you want to watch that impeachment trial, you can just go to the Riley King Network Facebook page, and you can find it right here.
By saying he loves your ass, he'll do
Let's
whatever
take a
you
little
want,
listen to
meant
it right
that
now.
he would really work with us on a whole host of issues.
He was not only willing, he was very eager, right?
That's fair.
Because Ukraine depends on the United States as its most significant.
And if you watch that instead of the Riley King Newscast, you can just go to the Riley King Network Facebook page, and you will find it on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Or you can go to ABC News Live Facebook page and get it there as well. Health officials unable to determine source of Manchester norovirus outbreak. 18 attendees, 2 workers sickened after private event at Puritan Backrooms Conference Center. Health officials were unable to determine the source of a 2019 norovirus outbreak that led to 20 illnesses and 1 death. Officials with the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services said in a report issued Thursday. Officials classified the outbreak as being of an intermediate origin because the evidence collected during the investigation did not point to any typical contamination source, which include food, water, humans, the environment, or animals. There were 45 guests at the private event the Sunday before Thanksgiving at the Puritan Backrooms Conference Center. 18 attendees and 2 staff members became ill with the virus. Several later tested positive for the norovirus. A person from Hillsborough County died after the event, and the state's medical examiner reported in December norovirus was a contributing cause of the person's death. Health officials interviewed several attendees and workers during the investigation. They said that there was no structurally significant food item associated with the outbreak, and no food service workers reported getting sick. Officials said that none of the guests reported being sick in the week prior to the event or on the day of the event itself. However, the investigation relied on information that people are able to recall and willing to share, and possibility that an ill attendee or ill food service worker introduced norovirus to the event cannot be excluded, officials said in the report. While no outbreak source was identified, officials did issue some recommendations, including that all people should wash hands thoroughly and frequently. Anyone experiencing sickness issues should remain at home for 48 hours. Food service establishments should ensure there is ready access to hot water and soap, and food service workers should report information about their health if necessary. WMUR reached out to the Puritan Backroom for comment but have not yet heard back from them. In December, restaurant manager released the statement regarding the norovirus investigation, which was ongoing at the time. Take a look at that statement. This is the statement, as you can see here. To read the full report from health officials, visit the link. Common symptoms of norovirus include diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, and stomach pain. Most people get better in a couple of days, but norovirus can lead to dehydration in young children and older adults and people with other illnesses. The best way to prevent getting sick is for people to wash their hands with soap and water regularly, and especially before handling food and after using the bathroom. State confirms first flu-related pediatric death of the season. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
Speaking with a psychologist about weight loss surgery can prepare the patient for the procedure, but also help them to recover both physically and emotionally.
Learn more at onehealthyboston.com. Your wellness, our experts.
Emily and Ben, that teenager lived in Worcester County. We are told their death was reported to the state just yesterday. According to officials with the Department of Public Health, the child tested positive for the B strain of the virus, which is commonly less serious. This season, health professionals say they are seeing influenza B earlier and with greater frequency, which isn't usually the case. Now, nationwide, there have been 39 influenza-related pediatric deaths, and this teenager's unfortunate passing brings that total to 40 now. Already this season, some 2,000 to 3,000 residents here in the state of Massachusetts have been hospitalized with the flu. Reporting live in Jamaica Plain, Julie Lonchek, WCVB News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Victim's daughter served propane line led to fatal Farmington explosion. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
For more than 40 years, Steve Minnick has covered the news. Trusted reporting in Maine and storytelling on people, places, and products from Maine. This Saturday night, join Maine Storyteller for Total Maine. The locals that make up the great state of Maine. Original creations and works of art sold around the world. And living life in Maine the way it should be. Total Maine with Steve Minnick. Saturday night on Maine CW.
Danielle Bell Flannery saying the explosion that killed her father back in September was preventable and never should have happened. She said it was caused when a bollard was augured into place, slicing open the underground propane line at the LEAP facility. Bollards or safety poles are installed to prevent explosions. Video from the scene of the aftermath shows the propane tank and the yellow gas line leading to the building. Farmington Selectman Scott Landry, who's also a State House representative, testified that those bollards were installed next to the LEAP Inc. building to protect the exterior heating unit. Landry testifying, if it was an electric line, a water line, even a sewer line, the contractor would have been required to contact DigSafe and this tragedy would have been prevented. And Maine's Fire Marshal Joe Thomas also testifying, saying the explosion at the LEAP Inc. facility in Farmington back in September is a clear example of what can result from a breach of an LP gas line that is below ground. Thomas saying, had a formal DigSafe assessment been done, clearly marking the location of the supply line, the breaching of the LP gas supply line could have been avoided. Captain Bell's daughter urging the legislative panel to change the current DigSafe laws to include liquid propane gas lines, saying, while there could have been so many other tragedies that day, the loss of my dad was enough. Losing him to such a preventable death is enough. Again, all of these investigative details coming out ahead of the official release from the Maine State Police and the Fire Marshal's office. We expect, again, that official release to come either later today or tomorrow. Live in the studio, Jim Keefeley, WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closes in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closes in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the green and went up. US 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 ekes out gain, erases losses after WHO claims norovirus fears. Stocks closed little change on Thursday, recovering most of their losses from earlier in the session after the World Health Organization quelled some of the fears around the deadly coronavirus. 3 Americans killed in water tanker crash fighting Australia fires. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
That breaking news overnight. 3 Americans killed fighting those wildfires in Australia. Their air tanker crashing. James Longman starts us off with the very latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. This was a devastating accident. 3 U.S. firemen going down in their plane in what's being described as a fireball. They were in Australia tackling those ongoing bush fires. And this morning, we're hearing a chilling call for help. Overnight, as the fires continue to blaze through this country, a harrowing call to emergency dispatch.
Fire golf, message read. Click your gap and message read. Crashed, huh? Yeah, fire comms, it's just a ball of flames. Over.
3 American firefighters dead after their waterbombing plane crashed.
Our deepest condolences to those families who've been impacted. And today is a stark and horrible reminder of the dangerous conditions.
The Americans were in Australia to help fight the fires near New South Wales, where more than 3,000 homes have been destroyed and 28 people have died. Flames spreading to the nation's capital in Canberra overnight, thick columns of smoke rising above the airport, forcing parts of it to shut down and stranding residents in nearby neighbourhoods.
It was very, very smoky up there. And my grandson lives in Oaks Estate and he's just been told it's too late to leave.
America has already sent 200 people to help fight these flames. Remember, we're only halfway through the summer. Scorching temperatures are going to continue, so the United States will be sending more people to help fight these bushfires.
Yeah, it's such a terrible situation. Okay, James, thanks very much.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.